Today's review covers the Oxford Rail Mk3a coach. This has just been released and it's just found its way to Dean Park today. So first of all, let's have a look at it in its box. Nice sturdy cardboard box, very similar to that of the other manufacturers, with Oxford's logo and colour scheme applied. We take it out of the box. It's got the usual clamshell plastic protector, and there's some additional fitted parts with instructions there how to fit it. Let's open it up. You can see straight off there that it's actually been wrapped in plastic to protect the ends. They need to just slide off. So I'll take this coach out and we'll have a look at them and see what we think. The British Rail Mk3 was developed in response to competition from airlines in the car in the 1960s. A variant of the Mk3 was also used as the rolling stock for the high-speed train. It was originally conceived as a locomotive-hauled coaching stock, with the first coaches being built for the prototype HST in 1972. Production coaches entered service between 1975 and 1988, and there's been multiple designs based on the Mk3 body shell, and these continued to be built until the 1990s. The Mk3 and its derivatives are widely recognised as a safe and reliable design, and most of them survive in revenue service on British Railways to this day. The body shell is 75 feet long, which is almost 10 feet longer than that of the Mark II. The bogies are classified as BT10 and were designed specifically for the Mk3, which allow up to 125 mph running. They have disc brakes in place of the class brakes that were on the Mark IIs, and which allows them to stop from 125 mph to a standing stop in a short period of time. The main difference between the HST vehicles and the local haul Mk3a, which is in front of you here, are really down to the electrical supply arrangements. The HSTs take an industrial voltage frequency or three-phase supply directly from an auxiliary alternator in the power cars, whereas the Mk3As use a single phase 1000 volt AC or DC train heat supply from the locomotive and convert it through motor generators under the floor. That means that the Mk3 and the Mk3a are not interconnectable in service conditions. The other main difference is the lack of buffers on the HST coach, and the one in front of you here obviously has buffers. The Mk3 coaches were deployed on the West Coast mainline expresses out of London to bring the three long distance routes from the capital up to the same standard, the others being the East Coast mainline and the Western region. Initial variants were the Standard Open, also known as a TSO, and the First Open, FO. Catering and sleeping vehicles continued to be Mark I until the introduction of the restaurant buffet vehicles in 1979 and 80, and the sleeper vehicles came along in 1981 and 1982. In 1988 the process was complete with the elimination of the Mark I parcel vehicles, which was replaced by a Mark III driving van trailer, or DVT, which allowed push-pull services on the West Coast mainline. Hornby actually have this model in their range, but sadly they've not released it for some years in the intercity Swallow livery, which would have gone perfectly with this Mk3 coach in front of you. The Scottish region also got Mk3As on their push-pull services from Edinburgh Waverley to Glasgow Queen Street and between the other major cities in Scotland. Initially these rakes were made up of 4 TSOs and 1 FO Mk3 coach, with a Mark IIF DBSO at the other end from the local. However, the First Open was later removed to be replaced by a composite open, which split the accommodation half between first class and half standard class. These vehicles ran in Scotland until 1989, when they were replaced by the Class 158 DMUs. The Mk3 coach continues to be in revenue earning service both on the HST and local hauled routes, and it's hauled by classes of locos such as the Class 90 and 68s. Out of the British rail designs, it is regarded as the most successful. Let's start with the overall shape of the Mark III. Oxford have captured this superbly. The proportion of window to body side, the spacing of the windows, the dimensions of the windows, the curvature of the roof, the angle of the end panels there, and the lower detail beneath the painted coach sides. They've all been captured in proportion, and it really is a convincing looking Mark IIIa. The roof detail in this model differs slightly from the Hornby model. The ventilation pods at the end here were one of the original designs from the earlier Mark IIIs before being replaced by the square vents that are more common. The grab handles for the panel have been picked out and separately fitted detail, whereas they are moulded on the Hornby one. This is a good touch, however I feel that the handles are a wee bit overscale and they protrude a wee bit too much. The Mark III coach is distinctive from the Mark II coaches in that it has got ridges on its roof. The ridges are here on this coach, but I feel that they're not prominent enough and they're a little bit muted. However, the roof is finished off in a nice satin black and it appears realistic. I'm now going to talk about the glazing and the interior of the coach. The glazing has been tinted, which is correct for a Mark III coach, and it just gives the right level of tint so you can still see the interior of the coach. The interior has been painted. The seats are a orangey red colour and the tables have been picked out in a kind of white, off-white colour. The seating arrangement is correct for a Mark IIIa coach, which differs slightly from some of the Mark III HST coaches. The toilet window at the end here has been smoked over, which is incorrect. One panel should be white. It has been given white treatment, but it's behind the smoked plastic and it doesn't really show as well as it does on, say, a Hornby coach. There's no lighting inside this coach. There was lighting on the pre-production models, however I think to keep costs down they've kind of sidelined the lighting option, which in my opinion is no bad thing. Turning the model round to look at the end, this is where the Oxford Mark III really scores highly. There is lots of separate fit detail, including handrails and cabling, and there's also a pack of additional parts you can put on the buffer beam if you wish. There's the NEM pocket there with a small tension lock coupling which could be easily replaced with a KD or any one of your choice. The gangway door is correctly picked out in a yellow colour, which is better than the Hornby ones which are picked out in white, and also around the gangway curtain there you'll notice a different shade of grey. That is correctly picked out. Again, the Hornby one is picked out in white. The other side is picked out in black. There's lots of small printed detail in the end here, even some, you might be able to see it just there, some details there, and obviously the C3 designation and overhead flashes with the cantrail continuing round the end of the coach. This is fitted with buffers which designates it as a Mark IIIa coach. I can't fault the end at all, it's excellent and it really does show up the Hornby model in this respect. Looking at the livery, it differs somewhat from the Hornby release. The band running along the windows, the dark band, is very, very dark grey, almost black. There is no silver aluminium surrounds to the windows, which if you look at the picture on the screen you will see that there is actually an aluminium surround. I feel this would improve the overall appearance of the Oxford coach. It's just a bit flat as it is just now. The lower intercity grey, or intercity beige, is in my mind a little too grey. It's lacking the warmth and the tone of the real coach. There are conflicting photos online of coaches looking more grey and even whiter than others, but I feel that the Oxford are a wee bit off here with their lower colour. The Untitled Intercity legend is picked out perfectly, very crisp and correctly positioned, and the lifting points above the bogies are picked out in yellow. The coach letter A has also been added, along with the central door locking orange light, which puts it in the 1993 onwards bracket. It would be nice for them to leave that out to allow earlier modelling of the Intercity Swallow. I don't know if they're going to do that with maybe the executive livery down the line, I don't know, but I feel that this places the logo well and truly post 93. This coach has the orange cantrail stripe running round the top between the roof and the side, which I think is very well done and very crisply picked out. Can't fault that at all. Overall, the application of the livery has been spot on. There's no flaws or problems with the paint from what I can see, and they've done a really good job. We'll look at the bogies. This is where it differs quite a bit from the Hornby release as well, in that the couplers aren't attached to the bogies are free turning. There's also a lot of detail down here, and there's also steps on 2 of the 4 doors, which is correct as per the prototype. The coupling, as I said, is an NEM, and it's on almost like a Bachmann style spring and return pivot to allow you to negotiate tighter curves. This allows for closer coupling, and this is where it scores a bit higher than the Hornby model. The wheels have detail on them, as you can maybe see in the picture there, which is quite a nice touch as well. Something you don't often see modelled on a coach. They usually get standard plain wheels, but this is quite nice to see some detail being added to a coach wheel. We're used to seeing it on the Hornby HSTs and the Dapple 68s, but it's nice to see it's made its way into this Oxford model. One thing I'll add on regarding the bogies is they are very well designed. A lot of people slate the Hornby ones, but I feel that Hornby ones are okay, but the Oxford ones certainly bring that 21st century look to the Mk3 00 model. We're going to take a quick look at both offerings on the market. The right hand side one is the Hornby and the left hand side one is the new Oxford. The Intercity colours on the Hornby one are more prototypical to the pictures that I've seen, although it's not spot on. The beigey colour is in certain lights a bit greeny. The window surrounds are more prominent on the Hornby model, possibly a rather thick silver outline, but at least it's there. The toilet window on the Hornby is more correctly coloured. The steps underneath the door, now this is quite prominent on the Hornby one, but it's a part of the moulded coach, whereas on the Oxford it's a separately fitted black plastic piece, which when I got the coaches were floating around in the box. They are not connected by glue, they're just clipped in, pushed in with 2 small holes. It's a design flaw because they keep falling off. You're going to have to glue them yourself, which really isn't really acceptable in a coach that's just been designed. I mean, they should have looked at this and thought, they're not going to stay in, let's make them part of the moulding. It wouldn't have detracted from the overall coach design at all. I just think they've tried to be too clever here. Think, oh, the more separately fitted detail we can get on a model, the more impressive it is. Well, in some cases that is true, but in this case you've just made it more fiddly. I spent 20 minutes trying to get 2 of them back in. So I would recommend you check the box if you get yours, and if they are floating around, try and attach them without glue, but if they're still coming loose, a wee touch of glue on the pegs and in they go. You'll notice actually the glazing on the Hornby is slightly darker. We can stand here and argue which is better. They've both got their advantages. I suppose that the darker windows on the Hornby hide their interior because it's not that detailed, whereas the lighter glazing on the Oxford shows off the impressive detail of the interior. One where Hornby scores a bit higher is on the door window, where it's got this little silver pull strip that you pull down to open the window to open the door from the outside. That is missing from the Oxford one. It would be a nice touch if Oxford could have put that one in actually. I feel the ribs on the roof of the Hornby are better proportioned than that of the Oxford, bearing in mind that they're slightly different detail because the Oxford one has the different pods for the ventilation as opposed to this square ventilator on the Hornby model. The couplings on the Hornby are too wide and they are attached to the bogie. However, the wider coupler on the Hornby one allows it to be pushed better with the HST power car at the back. I've found with the narrower couplings they don't like being pushed as much as they like being pulled. So maybe that's why Hornby have left the wider coupler on, to allow it to perform that realistic HST duty. I don't know how these will perform being pushed as opposed to just being hauled by the loco. Remember, Oxford are looking at bringing out HST variants of this. They're going to have to obviously have people pushing their coaches with the power car at the back and not just pulling it all the time. All in all, both coaches are priced roughly the same. You've got a brand spanking new moulding with the Oxford, and you've got a model on the right hand side from Hornby that it's over a decade old now. It still sells well, it's still a good coach, the Hornby coach. It's certainly in HST form. It's a good model. The Oxford beats it in some areas and falls short of it in others. If you were looking for a model to banish your Hornby Mk3s from your layout, and you wanted the Oxford Mk3 to be that coach, you may be disappointed. It is a good coach, but it's not a flawless coach. I've just coupled up both of the Oxfords, and I've just coupled up two Hornby Mk3s. Now, the big bugbear with the Hornby Mk3s was the gap between the gangways. And if you look at them on the position below, pushed together, don't know about you, but I think the Hornby one beats that. So if the whole purpose was to get closer coupling, then it's not happened, has it? If I pull them apart, again, the Hornby wins there. So if you were wanting to buy the Oxford Mk3 and eliminate the unrealistic gap, then it's not going to happen unless you change the tension locks to a narrower fitting KD. So there you go. That surprised me. Well, I hope you enjoyed that review and got something from it. And if you do buy yourself a set of Oxford Mk3s, you've got yourself a very good value for money coach there, and an impressive model. If you follow the model press, if you like, you'll have seen recently that Hornby have been buying up shares in Oxford, and actually the Oxford boss has been put on the Hornby board. So there's talks of a merger between Oxford and Hornby, and if that was the case, you're going to find that Oxford Mk3s become Hornby Mk3s, and you never know, Hornby might change them a little bit to make them HST variants. And if that happens, well, you'll get the livery colours to match the Hornby power cars, which currently these Oxford coaches would not, along with the newer design and moulding for the Mk3 from Oxford. So you could get the best of both worlds here if both companies put their heads together and just produce one coach. But that's down the line, so to speak. But that is the rumour in the forums just now. If you've enjoyed this video, why don't you check out one of my earlier videos? Or if you want to see something from the Network South East region, click on Richard from Everard Junction's video. The link will be at the right hand side of the screen.